welcome back to Robbing Minds. Now, when the Naira was floated and subsidy was removed, fuel subsidy, a lot of expectation was in the air that it will attract foreign direct investment in Nigeria. But recently, we've seen two multinational companies in Nigeria announced their plans to exit the country and become an import-only business. We're talking about consumer products as well as pharmaceutical products. And we know that the effect of that is that prices will become very high and jobs will be lost. Is this the renewed hope that we're expecting? What is the cause of these companies departing the Nigerian market? What needs to be done to halt this so that jobs can be preserved and things can be affordable for Nigerians to purchase? I have with me, as earlier announced, the founder of Policy Shapers in the person of Ebenezer Wikina, joining us on Robbing Minds. Ebenezer, welcome to Robbing Minds.
Thank you for having me.
Ebenezer, did it come as a shock and a surprise to you when a pharmaceutical company and an FMCG company announced their plans to leave Nigeria and become an import-only business? Was this shocking to you?
It was. I mean, especially the most recent one with Procter & Gamble, and just knowing how huge their workforce is in Nigeria, right? It came as a huge shock to me. And I think it sort of raises a lot of questions about how much work are we doing. The president mentioned that one of the reasons for the entourage, the president's team, was that most of the ministers were going to go look for investments, right? But how much work are we doing to even keep the investment that we have currently, in the country? Because if you have people who have already set up businesses, multinationals who are here in the country, losing hope and leaving the country, how then do you convince, new businesses and new organizations to come down and invest in the country if we can't even hold the ones that are here? So yeah, it did come to me as a huge shock. And I think that economy is really going to suffer from these exits.
And will you put the cause of this to the floating of the Naira, perhaps the exchange rate, the inflation, the reduced purchasing power of Nigerians? What is the cause of this? Because to be able to address the solution or to come up with a solution, we need to know why these companies are leaving and if we should expect more companies to leave in the coming months.
Yeah, no, I think you've listed some of the reasons. I think it's a combination of several factors. I don't think it's just one factor. I think it's the inflation that is rising, the challenges with the exchange rates. One of the reasons that the companies officially stated was that they don't think that Nigeria looks investor friendly anymore. So again, if you want to go back to look at things like insecurity for companies who need raw materials within the country, especially those who work in agriculture, there's a challenge of being able to even farm and get all of those produces. There's also the support of a low support from the local market. So most of the organizations like GSK has had to source a lot of raw materials from out of the country. So we don't have smaller businesses to support them and provide some of this raw materials that they will use to make their finished products. So you have a combination of all of these factors. And, you can pray and hope that you don't have more businesses leaving. But I think that, the government needs to see this as a huge sign, as a sign that there's a need to urgently address, the issues with our currency. In the 2024 budget, we pegged the Naira at 700 and something, only to hear a few days later that now it's at 900 and something at the official rate. So I think that, we can't afford to just see this as another thing happening. It's a sign of a huge economic challenge. And I think if we handle this with kids' gloves, we could be heading ourselves for another recession. And, that would not be good because, again, we had the festive season. She just talked about the festivities and all of the issues with people trying to buy food and the cost of food. So, this is not the time to spend 15 billion naira on renovating a house or trying to fly with 500 plus people to Dubai for events. I think that the government needs to actually begin to react in a way that shows that they actually do care about the economy and actually are being prudent enough, to not splurge the country's resources.
So what can the government be doing in the short term, from its body language to policies to quick wins to restore that investor confidence in Nigeria so that more companies don't leave?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most, I mean, the easiest and the low-hanging fruit, I think, would be first to not, for someone who's looking for money, right? A person who spends frivolously and is looking for money, the person who you are going to look for money from or look for investment from will see you as an unserious person, right? So the government can definitely not continue to spend the way we've been spending. The 2024 budget in many ways didn't inspire so much confidence in citizens, in society organizations. The fact that we even had to fight and advocate for a while before the details of the budget was even released, I think is even another challenge. So I think first in our spending and the way we just the body language of the way the government is spending and the kind of things we're traveling for, I think that's the first thing. The second thing is we really cannot keep our economy to be single oil-based economy. I mean, we've said this over and over again, diversifying the economy, ensuring that we're able to get, our exports higher, ensuring that we can even create services and products to be able to bring in and attract foreign exchange to our country. There's no other way. That's the only thing. That's what countries do. We need to be able to find things that other countries are going to need, other individuals are going to need, and find ways to convert our raw resources, to finished products that we can then sell for the world to buy. So how we can do that, I think, is what the government should be thinking of. The minister in charge of mining had said a lot about there are things like lithium, and there's some new resources that we can begin to explore that the world is looking at, especially from COP, right? We're talking about renewable energy. Lithium is a huge source and resource
So we
used
need to
for
start
batteries,
looking
and batteries will
inwards.
power a lot moving forward, right? So I think just being able to think of how we can begin to explore these resources and boost local production. We consume more than we produce, but how do we begin to produce more? I think those are the very existential questions for the government to think about.
A lot to think about and a lot to do in a very short time to restore that investor confidence. Thank you for your contributions on Robbing Minds, Ebenezer Wikina. That's the founder of Policy Shapers. Thank you for being our guest on the show.